Welcome to Friday night's video in our Master Series. This is the 135th video in our Master Series and the last video. This is going to be some final words about this Master Series. First of all, that I certainly hope you enjoyed this Master Series, and I certainly hope that it helps you to get a better production and distribution package so that you can have some really good stuff and have a chance of actually getting your stuff produced and put on the radio if that's what you're shooting for, and if not, that you enjoy what you're doing much more from not fumbling around and doing things wrong and getting bad information and things like that, so that you can enjoy doing music, which was basically one of the biggest points of this Master Series. So basically, we've gone through everything. We've gone through recording, to editing, to first phase processing, subgroup mixing, subgroup processing, group mixing, group processing, and mastering. And we also put together a distribution package. Some of the biggest things about this is that as you get better, my biggest things that I try to say is make really good notes about everything you do. Take pictures, take snapshots, take pictures with your camera of outboard gear, effects pedals, amplifiers, the way you got mics set, everything. Keep and make really good notes about everything you do so that you can go back and learn from what you did, mistakes you made or things you did well, being able to get a workflow together, and being able to go back and see what you might have done in some production that came out was a very unique production that was something really cool that you can go back and go, wow, that's what I do to that. Yeah, cool. And also checklists and workflows. That's a huge thing for every phase we've talked about. Have a good checklist and a good workflow to go through that, that has a good, workflow and checklist so that you do a good job every time that you can improve upon as you become a better audio engineer. And another key point is to remember that I made this series to cover all the most important meat and potatoes things that are really going to give you a good production. That doesn't mean there's a whole lot of abstract concepts or other processing concepts, miking concepts, the way to use microphones, the way to process, on and on and on and on forever of different ways to do things that sometimes can really add a different flavor to what you're doing or do something really cool, in a situation to make your production stand out, with some, hook, that really helps push your production over the top above somebody else's. Just be careful you don't get wrapped up in the never-ending, watching another video when it's the meat and potatoes things that are going to be the most important things that are going to really make your production a winning production. Really keep that in mind. Basically, other than that, I really will reiterate, take your time. Do a good job at every phase I've talked about and do it well. And also, make good notes about what you're doing. Make good notes and experiment. Experiment with new ways to do it and different things that, catch your eye. You're like, wow, what if I did that? What would that do? Experiment. Make notes about it. That's part of growth, And as you do that, you're going to become a better engineer from experience and experimentation. Does that make sense? And a lot more than watching a whole new video on how to do, some really weird mixing technique that really is going to not really help you refine the meat and potatoes things that you really need to focus on to make you a good producer or a good engineer. And also, if you're focused on any one of those areas as your focus point, like you're going to become a recording engineer or something like that, the most basic things that I talked about, you're going to want to focus on. And then experimentation. You may be looking for different effects. The reason why I really wanted you to watch the whole Master Series, no matter, even if you're focusing in one area, like just mixing, is so that you have a lot better understanding of the whole process that can help you really do your job better from understanding possibilities or other things that are happening in the process to make your job easier to do and to help you do a better job at what you're doing. So I really hope that you consider that also. So The last thing I want to say as far as that is concerned is I recommend you watch the whole series from beginning to end. Don't miss any videos. Don't skip any videos. Sometimes I get rambling, but it's because in class you might hear to do something 100 times before they test you on it. And then they might test you on it 2 or 3 times. Well, that's not happening here. I've got so many videos to put together, and I might hit a bunch of points a lot of times trying to get it to sink in. Because I don't have you in class for 6 years at Berkeley, bro. I've got you for this many videos for those many minutes, and then it's supposed to sink in. Does that make sense? Where if I had you at Berkeley for 6 years, bro, you can be guaranteed I wouldn't be rambling near as much, because I'd be going this, go do that, and then you come back, I'd test you on it, and then we go through it, I'd test you again on it, I'd say it again, I'd test you again on it, and and on and on and on, until I eventually hand you a diploma and said, there you go, Mr. Audio Engineer, off you go. I don't have that. I don't have that here. And so sometimes I do get rambling about things to really help it sink in. So keep that in mind. Watch all the videos from the first video to the last video. And some of those videos you might want to watch once or twice and make really good notes to really have those sink in. As you start practicing those things and as you start utilizing those things and getting better at doing them, that you will start to understand the importance of them better, because at first glance sometimes it might not seem that way, but as you start getting to the end of a production, that you realize, oh yeah, Doc told me to do that. Why did he tell me to do that? Why does he go 3 steps forward, 3 steps back? And why does he make sure you go through all this? And why, so that it sinks in, that later on you'll be, oh man, I really should have spent more time doing that. I should have focused on that more. That really shouldn't have been part of my workflow, because now I got a problem. Now I got a mess. Now I got this junk that I'm going to sit in front of my mixing board until I mix until I die, because it's never going to sound that good, bro. So, does that make sense? And hopefully that will help you. So that's about the last point I really wanted to drive home. The last thing that I want to drive home in this master series is we did not get into a whole lot of technical things. On my channel, there is tons of information about audio engineering, microphones, synthesizers, MIDI, all kinds of information for you to dig into to really start to learn about audio engineering. There are video series on audio engineering itself. There's all kinds of videos to help you move forward and to attain knowledge and wisdom, and lots of videos to point you in directions to help you further your knowledge and wisdom. There's a video on this channel about notebooks and keeping really good notes and going through notes that I've made to really help you, refine your knowledge and wisdom into notebooks and workflows and references and all kinds of things to help you become better and better and better as you acquire more and, get good notebooks together and that are laid out really well to really help you do a good job that you can refine and improve upon as you become a better audio engineer. And the last point that I wanted to hit home is study. I have made these notebooks. I have no idea how many notebooks. I've got this many notebooks in my OneNote, and in each one of those notebooks, there's I don't know how many notebooks on all kinds of different subjects that have to do with audio engineering, acoustics, the science of sound, music, notebooks on music, tons of notebooks on music itself, instruments themselves, psychology of music. DSP was a huge one. I studied that for I don't know how long. I've got huge amounts of information on DSP and things that are related to DSP. So, and I've got tons of other notebooks on anomalies, analysis, analyzing audio, automation, binary info, bridging audio values, business, calculations. I mean, everything, codecs, clicks and pop issues, converting, contacts, composing, editing, electronics, computers themselves, my computer, all the stuff about my computer, importing and exporting, and some ideas about level systems, all kinds of information about leveling systems, and, things that are related to them. I've got tons of notebooks. notebooks about, my studio references, studio related apps, related hardware, troubleshooting notebooks, I mean, tons of notebooks. Processing instruments, processing sculpting audio and processing sound, techniques, processing techniques and processing analysis, processors, information out there, processors, basic processors, effects, all kinds of different effects, and all kinds of tons of notebooks about effects, different kinds of effects and how they work, and da 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 da. I've got tons of notebooks. I studied a lot. So, this is information that you need to acquire. The more of this information and knowledge and wisdom you acquire to help you refine your knowledge, wisdom to become a good audio engineer and eventually, hopefully, a master audio engineer, that a lot of this stuff was very integral to me being able to make this master series and to give you advice. And sometimes it may sound really untechnical, but I studied all this other stuff. And if I sit there and I get into DSP with some of you and I go, well, I'm going to sit here and talk about, THD distortion, I mean, God knows what, some real, in-depth stuff that is very technical that, takes a little bit of college time or a lot of study on your own, that you're going to get lost in that. Maybe, not all of you, but a lot of you might. Because audio engineering, if you really dig into acoustics, the science of sound, and audio engineering itself, that it's very complicated. There's a lot of math, there's a lot of formulas, there's a lot of things going on. And in your computer, that music is one of the biggest CPU suckers, that there is CPU and disk space, because it just sucks up mass amounts. It does mass amounts of mathematics. So you have to understand, whenever you're processing and working with audio, there's huge amounts of very complicated mathematic things happening, formulas, equations, I mean, it's unbelievable what all is going on when you just push a button in your DAW and think, well, I just add a little bit of reverb, deep, da 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 da, well, I mean, it's pretty dang complicated what all is happening, and that's affecting the audio and can cause things to happen and can affect the way you use processors, the way you work with audio, all kinds of things like that. They can get complicated beyond comprehension. And so I've tried to put this master series together in a way that's very user friendly, because music a lot of times isn't like working in MATLAB. It's not like we're working in MATLAB, we're trying to do a music production, but all those things are very integral in doing a music production, because you're using them all the time. Whether you know it or not, or understand it or not, is beside the point. It's happening, and it is affecting the audio. And the better you understand that stuff, the better you will be able to apply it from a better understanding of what is happening. Like we talked about when we were doing mastering, that, you start studying what is happening when you're mastering in codecs, and containers and all kinds of things like that, it's a huge thing. It's not really that complicated what is going on with them, but understanding what's going on with the binary information, when you're dealing with the binary audio, what is it doing? It's truncating things. I mean, it's doing tons of things. You get into, the studio production, you get into mastering, what it's doing. I have tons of notebooks that I don't even have in here on all this kind of information, compensating for round off error, overflow, underflow, quantization error, sample loss, bit loss, reinterpolating the audio, formatting algorithms, codecs and containers, errors, masking. I mean, just tons and tons of information that the average Joe just doesn't know what's going on there, and it can make a lot of it seem like it's a dark art. So my mastering phase might have seemed very simple to some top-notch audio engineers, because I didn't address all that, because I'm like, well, bro, Bob might not, be on that level. And if I start getting all that, I'll have 500 videos, and I might as well just send them to Berkeley. So there is a lot of stuff that can make you make different decisions about what you're doing to do a better job. So I tried to make the whole series as untechnical as possible, so that you as a music producer can do your job with what you have as well as possible, and that I'm hoping that you'll dig deeper so that you can attain more wisdom and knowledge to do those things better. But at least this should get you through it. So peace, hope, love. I certainly hope you enjoyed this master series, and I'll see you in the next series.